Internet Associates proudly presents our Business and Professional Development System. You will hear from some of the greatest speakers, leaders, and achievers in the world today. As they share, you will hear strategies, insights, and inspiration for creating enhanced cash flow, financial stability, and the lifestyle of your dreams. Timeless information that will ultimately help you on your road to success.
Robert Kiyosaki is an incredible author, as you know. Has 4 books on the top 10 best-selling business list in America today. Is, I believe, the #1 business author in the world today. Travels all over the world with his message of freedom. He, of course, is a 4th generation Japanese American raised in Hawaii. Most of you know the story. His dad was the head of education, highly educated, but never succeeded financially because his context was wrong. His best friend at 9 years old's father never got past the 8th grade, one of the wealthiest men in the world before he passed his estate on to his son. And he got dual messages, one from his rich dad, one from his real dad, poor dad. And he had to make decisions. And it wasn't always easy because he had to change his context. He went to school and then to Vietnam as a Marine. Became a helicopter gunship pilot. Now you need to understand what kind of mentality it takes to be a helicopter gunship pilot in Vietnam. He served his country. He came back, made a fortune, lost it, made it, lost it, made it, and kept making it. But in his heart, he's a teacher. He's been featured on numerous television shows, Oprah, CNN, and on and on and on. He's been featured in many magazines, Newsweek and Success and so on and so forth. He is sought after all over the world, and he is here this afternoon with 5,000 freedom-loving American and Canadian free enterprisers who understand that the message may not be warm and fuzzy, but it's the truth. And it is a joy and a privilege, and INA is proud to present to you our friend and mentor. Before I do that, however, I want to read one quote by another one of my heroes, a guy named Albert Einstein. He said, "The significant problems we face cannot be solved at the same level of thinking we were at when we created them." Robert Kiyosaki will change your thinking process this afternoon, and many of you will look back on this day as the day that turned your life around financially and in many other ways. Help me welcome our good friend and mentor, Mr. Robert Kiyosaki.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. May I see a show of hands? How many people in this room have read Rich Dad, Poor Dad? Good, thank you. Has anybody not read the book yet? Oh, thank God there's still a few more customers out there. Thank you very much. For those who have not read the book, I'll quickly give you a little update about who I am in case you do not know, and a little bit of background. First of all, Rich Dad, Poor Dad is a true story. My real dad was the head of education for the state of Hawaii, very smart man, PhD, and I call him my poor dad very simply because even though he was a high-paid government official, and I do mean high-paid, no matter how much money he made, he was broke at the end of every month, and he was fired at age 50 because he made the mistake of running for governor against his boss, the governor, and so he never got a job again, and so he died poor. And so although a very well-respected, highly educated, good, hard-working man, he never had any money. My rich dad was my best friend's father, and although he was a man who started with nothing, he ultimately became one of the wealthiest men in the state of Hawaii where I grew up. So when you look at you think of Waikiki Beach and the tall palm trees and the hula girls and the blue water, my rich dad didn't own the buildings, he owned some of the land under those buildings. So today, when I talk to his son, my best friend, he estimates that for 7 generations, none of his children will ever have to work because they generated so much money. So he started with nothing and ultimately became one of the wealthiest men. So Rich Dad, Poor Dad is a very simple story about what 2 fathers tell their 2 sons, my best friend and I, about the subject of money. And for those of you who read the book, you can see that they didn't say the same things. For example, my poor dad always said to me, go to school, get good grades, get a safe, secure job, work hard, retire. How many people had your parents say that to you? Good, thank you. My rich dad, on the other hand, for those who read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, he had 6 basic lessons about money. And lesson number 1 was the rich don't work for money. And that's why, even though I've only had, ashamed to say, I've had a job for 4 years in my entire life, but that was just so I could learn a few things. But other than that, that's the only time I've had a job. And so for those who do not know, quickly go on, again, I was raised in Hawaii. I was educated in New York, and I had congressional nominations to the United States Naval Academy, United States Merchant Marine Academy, and I took the Merchant Marine Academy out of New York. And then I graduated in 1969. And in 1969, the thing was the Vietnam War was still on. And both my dad said to me that it was a son's duty to fight for the country. So in 1969, instead of taking a high-paying job, I volunteered to go into the U.S. Marine Corps. I went to flight school in Pensacola, Florida. And then I went... And then I did my advanced training in a place called Camp Pendleton, and I was in Vietnam in 1972 and came back in 73. And I flew out there, the helicopter gunship, and things like this. So what I'm going to be talking to you tonight about is this. I'd like to ask your permission because I've never really delivered this talk in public before. And the reason for that is who I'm delivering my talk to. And this is about free enterprise. So I'm going to be saying some things tonight that some of you who consider yourself patriots, you may not like to hear. And it's going to sound to you like be unpatriotic, but I assure you, ladies and gentlemen, after 4 years of military school and 6 years of the Marine Corps, I understand what patriotism is. I'd like to start with something is that when I was in high school, I flunked out of high school twice, even though my dad was the head of education. And the reason I flunked out of school is because I saw really no relevance to what I was learning in school and where I was going. And the reason for that is my rich dad started teaching me at age 9. He started teaching me playing the game of Monopoly. And he said to me, all of us know the great formula of wealth. It's sitting right on this game here. And my poor dad, the school teacher, kept saying to me, son, don't waste your time playing Monopoly. Go to school, get good grades so you can get a job. And my rich dad said, you'll never get rich with a job. If you want to get rich, play Monopoly. So what happened to me was I started playing Monopoly, and through that game and through working for my rich dad for free. See, one of the secrets to life is to work for free. If you want to get rich, work for free. And to the average person, that sounds like blasphemy. Well, you have to have a job. You have to have a paycheck. So my rich dad was teaching me things, and he had me work for free for him. And it drove my poor dad crazy because my poor dad was a school teacher, and he says, you're being cruel. You have to pay somebody a fair wage. So meanwhile, I would go learn from my rich dad, and then during the times off, he'd play Monopoly when I was about nine years old. And we all know the formula for great wealth. It's 4 greenhouses, red hotel, 4 greenhouses, red hotel. That's it. You don't have to go to Harvard. You don't have to go to Yale. You don't have to have a job. You don't have to do anything. 4 greenhouses, red hotel, and that's it. So the trouble was, by the time I was 15 years old, I knew I was going to be rich. I knew I didn't need to go to school. I didn't need a job. I didn't need to climb the corporate ladder. I knew I was going to be rich. The problem was it affected my education because every time the teacher said to me, she says, Robert, your grades are terrible. And if you don't get good grades, you won't get a job. And I said, good, I'm on the right track. You know? So that's my excuse for flunking out. Now, so I failed when I was 15 years old because I can't write, and I failed again when I was 17 because I can't write. And today my book is now, so I have 4 books on the bestseller list. It's over 11 million copies sold worldwide, of number 1 in Japan, China, Singapore, England, South Africa, Mexico. And that's because I can't write, you know? So I'm going to start saying some things that are not popular. The reason I flunked out of school was because the teacher didn't like, not that I can't write, the teacher didn't like what I was writing. Ladies and gentlemen, we don't have much freedom in this country. We think we do. But when you're censored as a kid, that's not freedom. When you don't have that choice to say, I don't want a job, I don't want good grades, it's not much freedom. When they say to you, you have to get good grades or you won't get a job, they're taking away your freedom. Because I want to say something, because even though I didn't do well in school, the 2 subjects I got A's in, one was economics, second was history. So what I've really studied for most of my life is economic history. And I want to say something about economic history. In 1773, we had a thing called the Boston Tea Party. And when they threw that tea into the water, they were not fighting for job security. They were fighting for freedom. And the reason I bring all this up is because there's many Americans who think that what freedom is the freedom to have a job. That's not freedom, that's slavery. It is insane to me, because I was raised by my rich dad. It doesn't make any sense to me. The other point I want to make here is this, is that as a Marine Corps officer, I flew a helicopter in Vietnam. I went down 3 times out there, you know, fighting for this country. The point here I'm making, ladies and gentlemen, is this, is that in this country, what is mistaken, people think that I don't think we know what freedom is. Because the thing I'm going to be talking about tonight is this, is that too many Americans today are looking for this word here. And the one thing my rich dad taught me was this: the more you seek security, the less freedom you have. And so for some of you I know are not in the INA business and all this. Some of you, the reason you don't have much freedom is because you still think, like my poor dad did, that this is important. The more security you have, the less freedom you have. Freedom doesn't come from security. Freedom comes from being strong, smart, brave, independent. It doesn't come from security. Right now, I was watching Today's Show this morning. Millions and millions of Americans are looking for a place to put their money where they can find more security. Losers. I am trying to say something to people, that in those people who are looking for security, they're actually selling our freedom down the tubes. Because our country, the people that came to found this country, the people that fought the Revolutionary War, did not fight for job security. They fought for the right to be free. And freedom is a very, very high state. How in the world can you say you have freedom when somebody tells you when you can eat lunch? How in the world can you tell me you have freedom when somebody tells you when you go to work and when you get off work? How can in the world do you say you have freedom when somebody has the right to fire you because they need to downsize? How in the world can you say you have freedom when somebody has the right to tell you how much you can make? That's not what we fought for. Too many people have sold their freedom in trying to get security. And the reason I know that is I grew up in a family of school teachers. Their education was not about freedom. It was about security. It was fear. And what's killing this country right now is fear. That's what's killing us. So I have kind of a hard time. I'm a little bit cynical when I see people sing the Star Spangled Banner, wave the flag, and go back and have somebody tell them when they can eat lunch. I personally don't get it. Does that make sense to you guys here? I don't get it. But this is a free country. And you have the freedom to choose security or freedom. Some of you have already made the decision by joining this business. And some of you are still on the fence because you still think this is more important. I will say it again. The more you choose security, the less freedom you have. I haven't had a job since 1978. I've made more money. I travel the world because I have freedom. And some of you are still choosing security. Does that make sense, you guys here? Do you know what I mean? Because that's what you were taught. Because you don't know what freedom feels like. And this may sound terrible. If this country comes apart, it doesn't make any difference to me because I can go throughout the world and still do business. Do you know what I mean? They're so afraid. This is not what caused our country to be free. Fear did not cause our country to be free. Courage did. Guts did. We are in right now, ladies and gentlemen, the biggest economic change in history of the world. The single largest. The reason I come and speak is because you guys are the ones who are going to be ecstatic. And I will tell you why. Because in the industrial age, this is where the idea of job security came from. My parents, who were raised in the Depression, they didn't have any jobs. So they're always the ones saying, get a safe, secure job, get a safe, secure job. And I still hear people saying, I said, what are you going to do now that the terrorists have hit? I'm going to get a safe, secure job. Well, you sound like your mom and dad. Do you know what I mean? I want to let you know something, ladies and gentlemen. You don't need a safe, secure job. There's still plenty of jobs. McDonald's is still hiring. You see what happens in the industrial age, we created lots of jobs. The problem today, ladies and gentlemen, is not jobs. It is not job security is a problem today. The problem is financial security. That's the problem. And the reason I come and I speak to you tonight is I said I don't do this talk to normal people because most of them would be running out the door right now. They don't want to hear this. The reason I say this is the industrial age is over. The information age has begun. You in the INA business are in the information age right now. There's one problem with the information age. You know what that is? It's invisible. You can't see it. You see, you can't see the World Trade Center. You can see the World Trade Center. You used to be able to see the World Trade Center. It's gone. You can see a big plane, but you can't see this business. In the information age, what's going to happen is everything's going to go invisible. The successful people are the people they can see with their minds, but not with, what you cannot see with your eyes, you can see with your minds. That don't make any sense here. The point here is this. Every time there's been a new change, when the compression cannon came, this disappeared. When this came about, something else disappeared. Every change throughout history has been marked by disaster, i.e. when the Titanic went down, it was the end of shipping. When the airplanes went down, it was the end of the airlines. is too big. It's now going invisible. People are going to start doing business from their homes because it's safer. They're going to be coming your way. They're coming your way in droves. The trouble is right now they can't see anything yet. Your job is to put them in, to let them know in their minds that the business exists in their head. It is the best business in the world. That's what I'm not making much sense, but that's what I'm trying to say to people. You're in the best business in the world because they're coming your way. And the reason they're going to come your way, going back to this here, is the stock market is finished. For those of you with 401ks and mutual funds, I saw somebody leave just now. There's two things that are not working: job security and mutual funds. And as I said earlier, is that the problem today is not job security, it is financial security. And what you offer people in this business is financial security. So let me give you the reason. Never in the history of the world have so many people bet their financial fortunes on a stock market. When Peter Lynch stands up there and says, for the last 40 years it's gone up, what he doesn't tell you is it also goes down for 40 years. In 2008, the first of the baby boomers start to retire, and they're going to start pulling their money out of that stock market. If there's 75 million baby boomers and they start pulling out $1,000 each every month, that's 75 billion every month coming out of the stock market. It cannot go up. For people who say work hard and save money, CD rates right now are less than 2%. In other words, if you want to make $20,000 per year in your savings, you need $1 million in cash. Not too many guys are going to save $1 million in cash. Am I making any sense? You see, what's happened is the industrial age is over and the information age has begun, and it's invisible right now. So the reason I say you're in the right business at the right time is very simply because of this. In Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I talked about the financial statement. This is income, expense, asset, liability. Most people, what they do is go to school, get a job, and the money comes in. My poor dad focused here. That's why he was poor. He said, kept getting a job. My rich dad had me focus here on assets. Okay? So the average American today has a job and they have mutual funds. They're in such big trouble, it is staggering right now. So the point I'm making here is that you are in the right spot at the right time. And the reason for that is what makes people really rich is what you guys are about. It's not about job security, it's about freedom. And what my rich dad taught me about freedom was that there's 3 basic assets in the world. Number 1 is a business. And what you guys are doing is building a business, okay? Number 2 are paper assets, which is stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. Kind of tricky, but as every stockbroker will tell you, don't worry, it'll go up. Yeah. And the third one is real estate. The predictions are stocks and real estate will continue to go down. Wages will continue to go down. So the good news is the people that are going to get rich are the people that build businesses. And that's why the future is coming to you. So the reason I speak, for INA and all this is because it is the best organization to teach people how to be business owners. The number 1 thing you're teaching people is the number 1 thing for freedom, and that is to be brave, to have courage. That when somebody says, no, I don't want to join this business, you don't punch them. You'd politely say, well, thank you, I appreciate you listening to me. Am I right? But I assure you, it's coming your way. Because the best I can see right now, the primary security a person has is the same thing we fought for in 1773, was the right to have our own businesses. That's what we fought through. That's what we threw the T over for. And as the world wakes up, the beautiful thing about the INA business is you provide, number one, the education and the opportunity to build a business. Does that make sense, you guys here? One of the most important things you're offering people is this word here. You give them back control over their lives. That is precious. A person who seeks job security, do they have any control? No. What you're doing is giving them that again. And that's why they're coming to you. Because in my estimation, I'll complete with this. What my rich dad taught me years and years ago is number one thing you build is you build a business. And I've been building a business since I was a kid. Once you build the business, then the business buys your real estate and the business buys your paper assets. What you're doing is giving people this control. Diane Kennedy alluded to it a little earlier. If this is a financial statement of an employee, the first line of an expense is tax. As Diane says, a CPA cannot help an employee because the first person that helps themselves is the federal government. Nothing right or wrong with it. But these guys chose security. That's why they pay the highest price. They lose freedom of when they pay taxes. But if you're a business owner, your last line item expense is tax. So the reason you want to build a business, as the money comes in, it goes through the legal loophole over here and into your asset column. It's one of the biggest loopholes around. The reason I build businesses, I have 7 different companies. And the reason for that is because I can take my money, and because I want freedom, the government will give me back control. But if I want security, the government's going to tax me. So when I say to people, and it still holds true for me, America is the easiest place, easiest country in the world to get rich in. If you can't get rich in America, you can't get rich anywhere. And the reason so many people don't get rich is because they want this. So when you say to a child, go to school, get a good job, so you can have job security and save money, let me point something out. You know what's wrong with saving money? That for every dollar you save, you have to earn 2 because the government's going to take 1. So it's really hard to save money as an employee because to put $1 in savings here, you have to earn 2 over here. That's the price of security. By talking to people about joining the business, by building the business, you're giving back their control over their lives, giving them control over the number one expense called taxes. You're allowing them to build an asset called a business. And through your business, you can buy other assets. And that's how the rich get rich. But the big shift here is this, ladies and gentlemen. The trouble is, too many of these people in this country want security, and they forgot what freedom is. And that's the problem. Your job is to re-explain that to them. I'll just say it back to them. We had a thing called the Boston Tea Party, not for job security, but for freedom. You guys in this business are the hope and future of this country. Because what giving back to people is what we started as a country. The right to be free. Does that make sense, you guys here? So the change is going to come faster, and that's why I speak. What has happened to America is America has become the single largest welfare state in the world. So many people expect the government to take care of them. We have Social Security, Medicare, which are toast. Your 401k is going to be toast. I promise you. Job security is going to go to China. And he's here and they go, now what do I do? You know, wave the flag? No, but listen, you know, I wave the flag, take care of me. That's not it. You know what I mean? I deserve a living. That's not it. So what you guys are offering people is that chance to get back some of their dignity, because as the world changes right now, very simply, the reason I created all these products was, that's what I was getting at, is the thing that I got angry about at school, I just got so upset about school, is that school is about academic IQ. And if you look at most people who are really smart, a lot of them aren't rich. You know, so it's not too good here. If you do, and so school teaches you about academics, and the second thing school teaches you about is professional IQ. So if you're really smart, become a doctor or a lawyer. The thing that school doesn't teach you, and this is what I was angry about in school. They said, you know, Robert, if you don't get a good grade, you won't get a good, safe, secure job. I said, I don't want one. What school fails to teach you is financial intelligence. Ladies and gentlemen, by joining the INA business, every time you listen to a tape, read a book and all this, is what they're giving you back is your financial IQ. And I'll just share with you what my rich dad said to me years and years ago. Which of the three has the power? It's this one. And ladies and gentlemen, we are at war right now with a rich man. His name is Osama bin Laden. And a rich man has the power to bring down this country to its knees. But just the other day, I met a woman who was in this business, and she remains anonymous to most people. I had a meeting with her. I said, what do you do with that much money? That's more than I make, you know. I said, and she says, there's guys like bin Laden, and there's people like me. And I do good with my money. He does bad. And what she does with her money, and she's in this business, she's in India, she went to India, she says, because the way we're going to prevent war is by making people rich. So she's in India, she started her business out there. I mean, she already had a business here in the States, but she went to India and she made a promise to the Indian people. And the promise was this, she says, every dollar I earn in this business will stay in India. And she says, with that money, she's building hospitals, taking care of people, teaching the people to be rich. So the point I'm making here, ladies and gentlemen, is your business here is extremely important because it's more than just about money. It's about giving back control of people's lives, but giving people this here, a chance to fight back. If people are financially poor, they're easily conquered. Does that make sense, you guys here? They're easily conquered. The reason I hated school was because they didn't teach me this here. They taught me this, but they didn't give me this. And my poor dad was poor very simply because he was a PhD here, but he was financially weak here. So you have a very important job in your business, and your business is to educate. The reason I come and speak is because although I'm not in the same business with you, we are in the same business. And the reason I go and speak, as somebody asked me, I fly in on this plane, I got to fly out tonight, and I start again tomorrow morning. I was in New York, Boston, Chicago, Istanbul, and all this. The reason I speak is because we are at war. We are at war. We are at war with people who want to take away this. I come and I speak to you very simply because you have the power to fight back. Don't make sense, you guys here? You have that power to fight back. So, I'll just explain some of the things I do, and then you can take a look at it. Is that the reason I dislike school, and the reason, how many people had a chance to play this board game, Cash Flow? Good, thank you. I'll just explain to you a little bit about it for those who haven't had a chance to play it, just so you understand what's going on here. Okay? This here, the reason I created it 2 tracks, like I said, I learned everything just playing Monopoly. 4 greenhouses, red hotel, 4 greenhouses, red hotel. Now, is that this game has 2 tracks. This track here is called the rat race. This is what you go to college to learn how to do. So when I designed this game, and I said, like this, I said, oh, good. And this here is the fast track. The thing that your business, our business, has the potential of doing is allowing people to come from here to here. In America today, guess what percent is here? 1. We have so many people that are less than 30 days away from bankruptcy. That's because our education system is terribly corrupt. So I'll just give you the stats here. To come up here to invest in the fast track, there are investments here for the poor and middle class, and this here is stocks and bonds and mutual funds. Up here, the rich don't invest in that. According to the Securities and Exchange Commission 1933 Act, to come up here, you have to be a millionaire. Okay? What your business has the potential of asking people to do is how to get out of this and up to here. When I first created this game back in 1996, I called my banker up because my banker kept asking me, he says, how do you make so much money? So I said, why don't you come over to my house and I'll play this game with you. I just invented it and all this. So my banker sat down with me for 6 hours. Oh. And he goes, Dad, this game takes a long time. And I said, the game takes a long time? You know? I said, does this feel familiar? He goes, what do you mean? Not me. And like this. So the thing is here, on the cards here, so he can't understand it, that's him. So here we have small deals and big deals, okay? So he pulls a small deal card and it says something like stocks, price $1. And he says, okay, $1 a share. Okay, I'll take 10 shares. I said, yo, Tarzan. Yo, Tarzan, live a little dangerously. He goes, what do you mean? I said, 10 shares? I said, you got $30,000 sitting there. Why don't you spend $20,000 on that stock? Oh, no, that's too risky. And I said, Tarzan, that's play money. Yeah, it's still too risky. So the reason I bring that up is what's happening to America today is you have too many people being taught by these people. Ladies and gentlemen, school teachers are not what you call risk takers. Nothing wrong with them. My family were school teachers. I know they do a good job. But they're teaching people to not take risks. And the more we don't take risks, the less freedom we have. So the second book I came up with is, for some of you, it's my favorite book because I think it's the most important book. E stands for what? Employee. S stands for what? Or small business or specialist. B stands for big business. I stands for investor. So that's this book here. And the reason I'm going to spend some time on this one because I think it's the most important book for people wanting to make changes. One of the reasons so many people are having trouble financially today is they're still listening to people who are here. Cowards. So, my rich dad said, if you want to be a business owner, what you have to be willing to do is listen to a person's words. And this person here will always say the same words. I'm looking for a safe, secure job with benefits. Always. I don't care if they're the janitor or the president. He says, when you listen to the S, when somebody says, I think I'll quit my job and go out on my own, they go to S land. They think they're Superman, but they're really psychotic when they come on. And he says, you can always tell an S because they always use the same words. Their words are, if you want it done right, do it by yourself. Or their theme song is, nobody does it better. Or Frank Sinatra's song, I did it my way. So the point here, ladies and gentlemen, is this, is these people are generally the people that do well in school. And your job is a tough one because you're trying to tell them to think over here. You guys are psychotic. Because you're going against the entire culture of this country that's taken over. They forgot about the Boston Tea Party and they're going for security. So you got these people over here. Now, my rich dad taught me to be on the B quadrant. And for those of you who read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, what is the most important thing a business owner must be able to do? Ha! No. That's why my friend Blair Singer wrote this book. It's called Sales Dogs. The number one skill to be a business owner is you must be able to sell. Now, the problem I ran into at my house is that when I came back from Vietnam, I went to see my rich dad, and I said, what do I have to do to become a business owner? And he says, get a job selling. I went, oh. You know why? To the academic, my parents, salesmen were the scum of the earth. So when I went home to my mom and dad, and I went to my mom was already passed out. I went to my dad and I said, this is 1974. I said, Dad, I'm getting on the Marine Corps. He says, good, are you going to get a job with the airlines? I said, no. I'm going to get a job in sales. Because according to a school teacher, salesmen are scum, So I sat there and all this, but I want to say this much, okay? For those of you in the business, your primary job is to teach the new person how to sell. And I'm going to give you another point of view on it. When I came back from Vietnam, and I said to my rich dad, I'm going to how to become a business owner. He says, get a job in sales. I went, what? And he looked at me and he says, Robert, how'd you do in Vietnam? I said, I did well. I killed a lot of people. He says, yes. But you had a gun, didn't you? I said, He says, well, we're back in the real world. I said, yeah. You can't carry a gun. I said, oh, big problem. You can't say, you work for me, you know what I mean? So, oh, no. So he says, you have to get a job in sales. I said, but I don't want to sell. The truth was, I was afraid. Because I didn't want rejection. My rich dad said, he says, you have to learn to overcome your fear of rejection. If you can't do that, you'll never be a business owner. I said, there's got to be another way. Can I become a manager? And he goes, no, you have to be able to knock on doors, and if they say no, beat it. You have to overcome the rejection and sell again. And he says, well, you can't be a business owner if you can't sell. And I went, oh. So with that, my rich dad finally talked me into getting a job at Xerox. And for 4 years, number one skill. It is the single largest skill, is how do you overcome rejection? How do you maintain your courage? My rich dad said to me, he says, you have a lot of courage with an M60, machine gun in your hand. But take that away, you're a wimp. So one of the benefits of your business is that what you're teaching people to do is by knocking on doors, making that call, taking that rejection, you're building self-esteem. The single most important thing you can give a person. And the trouble with the business world is, As an employee of Xerox, if I didn't do well, they fired me. For 2 years, I was at the bottom of their list. 2 years. Until one day, I got sick and tired of being a coward. And I just didn't care anymore what other people thought of me. And at that point, I made a breakthrough in myself, and I began to sell. And that's when I started my first company. And the thing that my rich dad said is that was true. I had to learn to speak to this person. I now speak to my accountants and my attorneys differently. And I also learned how to speak to investors differently. I learned to speak to you guys differently as a presenter when I'm selling them one-on-one. The beauty of this business, if you stay in it long enough, you will learn how to be one of the best communicators in the world. I watched Jim Floor get up here, brilliant communicator. That's what you want in this business, number one thing. So if I could say that is the single largest skill you can learn is to sell. Is to talk to somebody to come out of their fear, to learn to have them face their fear. So when I speak to my employees today, I speak very kindly to them. I don't talk to them about opportunity. I talk to them about security. I use their words. And then I talk to them slowly. I let them know. This is what I say to them. I said, my job is not to make you rich. My job is to give you a job. If you want to be rich, you need to make some changes. And I slowly talk to them over and over. When I talk to these people, I talk differently. When I talk to my investors, each person is different. You must learn to speak to them differently. So the point I'll make to this here is this, is these people, when you're talking to them about your business, are so into security. You have to be very gentle with them. With this person over here, they don't trust anybody. That's why they want to do it on their own. And your job with this person is to build trust. These guys, when you say, guess what? We'll get together with a group of people and we'll help you. Why? Why are you going to help me? I don't help anybody. And these people are different. So, the beauty of this INA business is that it's giving you the tools, the education, and the time. My rich dad, it took me 4 years. Keep going. It takes that time. The hardest thing for these people to understand is it takes time over here. The thing that the INA business gives people is that time. It gives time to grow up, to get strong, to get brave, to have the strength. That's what you're giving people in the business here. My rich dad for 4 years encouraged me to continue. I lost 2 companies. I lost my nylon and Velcro wallet business, went down. I lost millions of dollars. I was down lower than this. My poor dad said, I told you, you failed. You embarrassed me. And my rich dad said to me, he said, congratulations, Robert. Most multimillionaires lose 3 companies. You got 2 more to go. Now, what I'm giving you, ladies and gentlemen, is the difference in points of view. So when I lost my second company, I went back, I said, guess what? Lost my second. He says, good, 1 more. My third one, I hit it. I became a multimillionaire. The average person here, they don't want to take that risk. They don't want to invest the time. I assure you, I've looked at with Jim and I looked at your training materials and all that. You have the right training. The best training you can do is knock on doors. To this day, I still knock on doors. And most people are, no, I want to be secure, I want to be secure. So, a couple more points and I'll get off the stage. Tips my rich dad told me. Over here, to be successful, you have to have guts. The other thing my rich dad taught me was this. It says, if your wife in my case, my wife, is not on your side, you won't make it. He says he's never really met a successful business person, male or female, if their spouse wasn't on the same team. Some of you may be having trouble because you're over here, but your husband or wife is over here. I sincerely say to you, ladies and gentlemen, is that I would not be here today without my wife, Kim. For those of you who read Cash Flow Quadrant here, the book starts with she and I being homeless. That woman has more guts than most men I've ever met. She stuck with it, stuck by me, she had faith in me, and I said to her, we'll just keep building this business. Today my wife has a portfolio worth millions and millions of dollars on her own. If I should die or pass away, she'd go, oh good, he's gone. It doesn't make any difference. Most importantly, what has happened to her is she's become a strong, independent woman. And I think that's one of the beauties of this thing. The next tip is this: it's almost impossible to make it here if your friends are here. That's been my experience. One of the beauties of the INA business is you get to hang out with people, even if they're not here, they want to be here. Does that make sense, you guys here? I am here today because my friend Mike, who was Rich Dad's son, when I came back from Vietnam, I couldn't even talk to him. Very simply because he was a millionaire by the time he was 19 years old. I had to find another friend who was going to go with me on the journey through here. Does that make sense to you guys here? And his name is Larry Clark. And in 1974, we met. I was born April 8th, he's born April 9th, and we became the best of friends. We started the nylon wallet company together, we went broke together. We started another company together, we went broke together. Today, Larry Clark is Inc. Magazine's Entrepreneur of the Year. He sold his company for $40 million, and he retired. Right now, Larry is my next door neighbor. We're still the best of friends. So the point I want to make here, ladies and gentlemen, the thing that INA gives you, it provides you, is people who are friends to help you along the way. I would not have made it without those friends. Does that make sense to you guys here? And that's valuable. And in closing, I'll say this much. The reason I am primarily here, whether I work or not, my income comes from my investments. One of the reasons I built businesses first is because a business will give you unlimited income. Over here, income is, in most cases, limited. The reason it's limited is because you can only work so hard. Over here is dollars, dollars per hour, whatever it's called. Over here, it's unlimited. My accountant, Diane Kennedy, was up here earlier. She has to call me up. She calls me up and says, Robert, you're making too much money. I go, oh no, not again. She called me in June. She says, Robert, you have to spend $1 million. I said, oh God. I have to spend it according to IRS guidelines. That's the hard part. If I were to spend it, it'd be easy. She says, so what the IRS forces me to do is buy more real estate. Forces me to buy more stocks and bonds and all this stuff. So this is what I'm trying to say. My rich dad said to me years ago, he said, there's two kinds of money problems. One is not enough money, and one is too much money. Which one do you want? And all of you tonight are here because you're greedy. No, because you're here. Now, the beauty about this business is your income is what? Unlimited. And I said, these guys here, people tell them when to have lunch, tell them when they can come to work, when they go home, how much they can make. That's ridiculous. Over here, it's unlimited. So the reason I invest is because my accountant, Diane, calls me up and I have to go out and buy more property because those are the rules of the rich. So I get richer and richer because I have a business, unlimited money, I'm forced to invest. These guys here are living in terror of terrorists and all that stuff. The last point is this, is that my rich dad said to me very early on, he said, these people, not too many people make it. It has nothing to do with your intelligence, or your brains, or your good looks, or your gender, or your race. It has to do with your desire, your dreams, your heart. If your dreams and your spirit are strong, you will survive. And if it's weak, you won't. Most people are not successful here because they don't have the spirit. They'd rather have security than freedom. So what my rich dad said to me is this, he says, these people actually think the world is fair. No, they come in and say, well, you gotta protect me from the world, and all this. Rich dad, I was up in Alaska about 3 months ago, and I was climbing on some mountain peaks, and I realized that if I fell from this mountain peak, nobody would ever find me. Bear would eat me, there'd be nothing left. And now as I was climbing the mountain peak, I had to carry like a sweater, plus, the temperatures range 40 degrees. So it could be 80 degrees and then be 40, or it could be 60 degrees and be 20. I could die instantaneously. I remember my rich dad saying to me is these guys need protection and these guys need to be strong. He said to me, he said, the B quadrant is like the gong show, He said, if you're an idiot, it goes gong, disappear. Is that correct? You're gone. Or the gong show was in the 60s and 70s. Today it's, you are the weakest link, bye. You're laughing at me, aren't you? The reason I say that, I've been the weakest link twice. Bye. I had to come crawling back up. Okay. The beauty of the INA business is you have people that support you. You have an environment of support, of trust, of people that want you to win. That's priceless. The world I operate in out here, it's sink or swim. It's just gone. So that's the beauty of the INA business. And the reason, and this world, what my rich dad taught me, is called the great casino. He says, in the investor quadrant, there's winners and there's what? Losers. The reason these guys are so afraid of the I quadrant is because they don't have enough money to lose. So what they do is they look for safe investments like mutual funds and they lose. The beauty about being on this side with having a business and investing is if you have enough money, you're not afraid of losing. This year, I lost about $500,000 in the market, but I also made $3 million. And the definition of a loser is somebody who's afraid of losing. One of the beauties of the INA business is that if you stick with it and you build it, you'll be making so much money, you won't care if you win or lose in this quadrant. And ladies and gentlemen, when you don't care if you're winning or losing, you're a winner. And that's the most important thing this business gives you. Thank you very much.
This recording and the information offered on it have been produced independently by Internet Associates. All references to earnings, travel, and lifestyle do not constitute a guarantee or promise of earnings. This is copyrighted property. Any unlawful use or duplication without prior written consent is prohibited by law.